stories unfold, and the chat's got soul. From the gavel to the gas, we're watching it all. Covering the courtroom, big case or small. Laugh when we can, cry when we must, but it's all real talk, you can count on us. We're not the pros, just fans who care. With popcorn in hand and a comfy chair, and every twist we're right there, together like we're all in the witness chair. This is the Broken Baker, where the trials come alive, where the chat is wild and the vibes survive. We're watching the worst of what people do, but we keep it light, yeah, that's our truth. It's the only place for crime, and it feels just right. We bring the justice talk into your night, so hit that stream, don't miss the call. At the Broken Baker, we cover it all. Oh yeah. We're just laymen with the view, but we ask the things the world wants to. Digging through the facts, side by side. Even when it's dark, we bring the light. No clickbait, no fake feels, just truth and the highs and the reels. With the chat that roasts and rise, we're just here for the case and the vibes. This is the Broken Baker, where the stories unfold, with a smile in the heart, even when it's cold. Yeah, we cover the bad with a wink and a grin, where the real talk starts, come on, jump in. It's the only place to be, can't you see? For trials and truth, it's BBTV. The Broken Baker, where the trials come alive. Yeah, we'll be here, trial of the trial.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you are. Oh. Jamie,
What?
it's Sunday.
It is.
Sundays is my off days normally, but you said, fatso, you never work, get out of bed, get online. And I thought, what the heck? We have to do it. We need about an hour and a half, and then we will be done with this. I'm trying to get it done so you can all go watch Brother Counsel's show today. His dad will be joining him and Solomon. I really like Solomon. He's a feisty little fellow. Well, he's probably way bigger than I am, but he have said that he want to represent people who get defamed in the Karen Reed case, and oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Some people are really stretching the line of defamation. Miss Holmes, thank you for becoming a member.
You sure are.
GM, I don't know much about this case, but it caught my attention. Was it really 2 on 30? If true, it's, I say, self-defense. I haven't heard 2 on 30. We know 3 or 4 people got out of a car. The problem will most likely be, and we haven't got to that part of it yet, because we've only seen the first fight. The second fight, I think he leaves the fight, picks up a stabulator, and goes back to the fight. That takes self-defense out of it.
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah. When you could have left the situation and you come back to it and do that, if that's what we find out.
Yeah.
I agree.
But we haven't gotten to that yet. We only had the first fight. And the first
saw
fight...
the video.
From the first fight.
Yes. And it did not look that crazy.
No, but it looks like this guy was going around trying to land some soccer punches. But again, fight's a fight.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to have to find out what happens. We are still with the guy who had a Snapchat video that the defense attorney doesn't understand what a video is.
Yeah.
So, hey, LA Thrifter, you're up early. And just to get everyone up to speed, tomorrow the case is live again. We have caught up. It doesn't start till 10. I don't know why, but that's how it goes. But let's get into it and see if we get some answers. So far, we know some people went to another high school kids' party. Someone knocked their beer out of their hand, tried to steal their beer, something, and a fight broke out. And those kids left again. And then someone came to another party to fight. They went online, started smack talking, and then people pulled up, as the young people say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tanner, before we took the break, I was just about to ask you about the fight itself. What do you remember? What did you remember observing about the fight when you were recording it?
It was very chaotic, but there was a little skirmish in the midst of everything. It was really in the center of everything.
And based on you recording and what you recall about the fight, can you tell us, based on your recollection, taking us through the fight, what you remember?
I do not remember too much because once I came out from the back of the house and I went towards the front, there was already a big crowd and the fight was in the middle of the crowd, and I just started recording. It was all really a blur.
And when you were recording, do you recall hearing anything going on during the fight?
Yes, I recall hearing screams to get out of here and just leave.
Do you recall whether or not Charlie Connery said anything during the fight?
Yes, he yelled, "He has a knife, he has a knife."
And when you heard him yell, "He's got a knife, he's got a knife," what, if anything, did you do next?
I do not recall exactly. He said it a few times, therefore it kind of registered in my head.
And when it registered in your head, were you still recording the video?
That is right when the video stopped.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 60. We're going to play the original video.
Yes, sir!
Was that the original video you took?
Yes, it was.
Yes, sir!
This idiot who is on the stand now he's the guy yelling, "Yes, sir," right? That's
what it sounds like.
yeah. Yeah, let's beat him up. Yes, sir.
Was that the lightened up version?
Yes, it was.
Outside of being lightened up, any difference from what you originally?
No.
Now it looks like way more people on one person. God, that's
Yeah, who's who?
stupid though. Yeah, I know who's who.
It's hard to tell anything. Just some flailing arms and is the guy kneeling, sitting on top of someone that people are trying to punch?
It looks like he's on the ground, whoever that is, and they're punching him.
This guy is the defendant, I think, because he has that powder blue shirt on, like we saw in the picture.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
No,
either.
it doesn't look like that shirt. No, that's not that shirt. I don't know.
I don't either.
I'm going to show you some stills from the video. So I'm showing you State's Exhibit 61. This individual right here to the left, what appears to be pink shorts and white shirt. Do you know who that is with the phone in his hand?
Yes, that's Ricky Fiola.
Rico Fiola, Ricky?
Yes.
State 62. Do you know who this individual is?
Yes, that is one of the individuals that was originally in the car and in the fight.
And you know who that individual is?
Yes, that's Raul Valle.
Defendant?
Yes.
State 63. This individual here with the green shirt and black shorts with white trim, do you know who that is?
Yes, that's Ryan Hines.
And this individual here with the white shirt and black shorts in front of Ryan Hines, who's that?
That is Sal Perry.
And this individual with their shirt off with the jeans on, do you know who that is?
Yes, that's Alex Bernstein.
And this individual here with the black shirt, jeans on, and the red hat, do you know who that is?
Yes, that is Michael Sampieri.
And this individual on their knees with their shirt pulled up, do you know who that is?
Yes, that is one of the individuals that was originally in the car.
Do you know the name of that individual?
Yes, Tyler De Silva.
And do you know if there's anybody in front of him on the ground?
I learned after the fact that it was Tyler Rich.
Showing you state 64. Direct your attention to this individual here in the white shirt. Do you know who this is on the right side of 64?
Yes, Charlie Connery.
And again, 65. Is that the same individual?
Yes, it is.
State 66. Do you know who this individual is with the white shirt? It appears to be tan shorts on.
Yes, that's Jacob Villalobos.
And this person here with the camouflage shorts with no shirt on, with the shirt hanging out the back. Do you know who that is?
Yes, Matthew Lakovich.
And this individual here with the navy blue shirt and white shorts. Do you know who that is?
Yes, Jimmy McGrath.
State 67. Again, this individual with the white shirt hanging out the back of his pants with the camouflage. That's.
Matthew Lakovich.
And this individual here with the tan shorts with the white shirt appears to be pushing on Tyler De Silva.
No, these are stills from a video. That's why it looks so bad. Yeah, and I still don't know who did what at what point.
Do you know who that is?
Yes, Jacob Villalobos.
And again, this person here on the right
Throwing
side
out
of
names.
the photograph with the navy blue shirt on and the white shorts. Who would that be?
Jimmy McGrath.
Jimmy McGrath is the guy that ended up
The
passing
individual
away.
here with the shirt
all I
pulled
know.
up with the jeans on. Can you tell us who that is?
Tyler De Silva.
And is this frame after Jacob Villalobos seen pushing him out into the street?
Yes, sir.
And the person passing him near the curb, who would that be?
That is the defendant.
Oh, so that's the
Finally,
defendant.
State 69. You know
So that's
who this individual
him?
is in the street with the jeans on and the jersey?
He was the
Yes,
guy.
Tyler.
This guy. That's the defendant. I was just looking at this and thinking, but it looks like it's when I look more at it, like it's I thought it could be a knife, but I don't think that would be too big.
Yeah.
Defendant.
And finally, state 69.
It's a Snapchat video he took on his cell phone. Yes. Hey Beth.
You know who this individual is in the street with the jeans on and the jersey?
Yes, Tyler De Silva.
And this individual here with the navy blue shirt on and the white shorts. Do you know who that is?
Jimmy McGrath.
Now, when you stopped filming, withdrawn. After the fight ended, what did you observe?
After the fight ended, I observed a chaotic scene where Jimmy was laying on the ground and the dark colored Honda Pilot sped away.
What about Jimmy did you observe when you saw him on the ground?
He was just laying in the grass with a bunch of people around him.
And did you recall whether or not he had his shirt on at that moment?
I do not recall.
And did you notice anything else about any of your other friends after the fight was over?
At that moment, I did not.
What happened after the fight ended? What did you do next?
When Jimmy was laying on the ground, he appeared to have wounds and everyone was yelling to go get towels. So then I made my way back through the opening in the backyard and down the cellar doors to go look for towels to assist.
And when you went to go look for towels, what, if anything, did you encounter in the basement?
In the basement, I encountered Ryan Hines slouched up against the wall with his arm across him, seeming to be heavy breathing.
And did you assist Ryan Hines?
Yes, I asked why he was down there, and he was just out of breath. And then I lifted his arm up and saw a wound on his ribcage.
And what side of his do you recall what side?
I do not recall exactly.
And when you witnessed the wound that Ryan Hines had, what if anything, did you do with regards to Ryan?
I told him that he had to go outside to an ambulance right away, and I proceeded to get his mom's phone number.
And did you call his mother?
Yes.
And after you called his mother, did you help him outside, or did you help him outside first and then call his mother?
I helped him to the ambulance, and then I called his mother immediately after.
And After that happened, do you recall whether or not you spoke to police officers?
Yes.
Where did you speak to the police officers?
In the driveway?
And at some point in time, did you speak to police officers again after that night?
Yes, the following day.
And when you spoke to police officers, did you provide the police officers with the video that we just saw?
Yes, I did.
And on May 14th of 2022, when you were coming out of the Bilko door and you were encountering the fight, did you have any weapons on you?
No, I did not.
Do you recall prior to the fight whether or not any of your friends had any weapons on them?
No, they did not.
And do you recall witnessing anybody during the fight from your friends with any weapons on them?
No, I did not.
Did you witness anybody else with any weapons on them that night?
No.
Did you see anybody actually get stabbed?
No, I did not.
To the best of your recollection, what you told us here today is what you remember?
Yes.
You said you had a couple beers at your brother's house and that was it?
Yes.
Were you intoxicated to the point where you couldn't recall everything that you just testified to today?
No, I was not.
Let me have a moment, Your Honor.
You and I have never met before, correct?
No, sir.
We've never discussed this case before.
No, sir.
You did, however, meet with the police, and
I think he's out on $1 million, or there was a bail set at $1.5 million, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't done a deep dive into this case.
discussed this case, correct?
Yes.
And sir, it's your testimony that when you met with them on May 15th, you provided them with this video?
I do not recall if it was on the 15th, but to the best of my knowledge, yes.
Because you actually also met with them again on the 20th, did you not?
Yes.
Do you think maybe you provided it to them on the 20th and not on the 15th?
Yes, it may have been on the 20th.
You described for us your relationship with some of these folks, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that, okay?
Yes, sir.
You described knowing Ryan Hines, and you knew Ryan Hines from school, correct?
I met him through mutual friends. Through mutual friends, and we live in the same neighborhood.
And you lived in the same neighborhood?
Yes.
And how would you describe the nature of that relationship? Was he your best friend? Was he an acquaintance?
He was a really good friend of mine.
A really good friend? Good enough that you would give him rides to and from parties, even if you weren't necessarily going there. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't really describe for us your relationship with Griffin Marcinzik, but how do you know Griffin?
Our families have been family friends since we were very young, so we consider each other cousins, but not by blood.
He did say that yesterday.
So close enough that you consider each other cousins, even though you're not actually blood related.
Yes, sir.
Do you have that same closeness in your relationship with Ryan Hines?
Not to the extent.
So you were closer with Griffin Marcinzik than you were necessarily with Ryan Hines. Is that fair
Yes,
to say?
sir.
And you described that you received a call to give a ride to Ryan and Griffin over to 5 Lazy Brook, correct?
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Kyle.
At that point, you were at your brother's house.
Yes.
And just for the record, what's your brother's name?
Colin?
Colin?
Yes.
And how old is Colin
24, I believe.
now?
Yes, now.
So 21 at the time?
Yes, he was 21 or 22. It was his stepbrother's house, but he was residing there.
Okay. His stepbrother's not your stepbrother?
No.
Are you and Colin half brothers?
Yes.
I played the game, but I can't remember the actors. He reminds me, if anyone watches, probably not, because I'm a big old nerd. If anyone watches 40K battle reports, there's a Canadian company that it's called Mini Wargaming. He looks a lot like one of the guys in that one. Hello.
Maybe he is.
No, because he's Canadian, so I don't think he practices law in America. I said a Canadian company, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't listen to you. I know you don't listen to me, Jamie.
I only listened halfway.
Anything you said since good morning, can you say that again? No.
Same father.
And so you did give them a ride over to 5 Lazy Brook, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you just dropped them there.
Yes, sir.
So you didn't witness anything that occurred at 5 Lazy Brook.
No, sir.
Later, however, you got another call from Ryan Hines again, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, you got Alex Bernson involved, correct?
Yes, sir.
You weren't hanging out with Alex before that call, were you?
No, sir.
So after that call, You contacted Alex Burnson, correct?
Yes, sir.
You recruited him to come and give you a ride over to 43 Laurel Glen, correct?
Yes, sir.
How did you know to go to 43 Laurel Glen?
Actually, sorry. Ryan informed me that that was where he was going to be going.
And he wanted you to come there and meet up with him.
I was more being a concerned friend, so I was going to go check on him no matter where he was.
And were you going to take Alex Burnson with you no matter what?
Alex was my first call because I had a few drinks and he does not drink. So I knew that in a serious situation that if I needed him to pick me up, he would.
So if there was going to be a serious situation, you wanted Alex Burnson to be with you.
Objection is the characterization.
That's absolutely not what he said.
That's how it was characterized by the witness.
Can you rephrase, please?
If there was going to be a serious situation, you wanted Alex Burnson to be with you, correct?
No, not saying there was going to be a serious situation. It was a serious situation because I was made aware of something that supposedly happened to my friend. So to me, it was a serious situation to check on his well-being.
And that serious situation was you thought that there had been a fight that Mr. Hines had been involved with, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so you got Alex Burnson, not Colin, to take you over to 43 Laurel Glen. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And you identified for us Alex Burnson in the videos that we just watched, right?
Yes, sir.
Alex Burnson's the guy with no shirt on who's standing over somebody and throwing a few blows, right?
Yes, sir.
How much do you think Alex Burnson, or do you know how had Miss Burnson had to drink that evening?
He does not drink.
Does not drink.
At the time, he did not drink.
And you told us that when you got there to the house at 43 Laurel Glen, you had had a couple of drinks, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you described those as being seltzers, correct?
Yes, sir.
You also told the state's attorney on your direct examination that those had been beers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you have both that night, seltzers and beers?
No, I did not.
Which one was it, seltzer or beer?
It was seltzer.
Do you know which kind of seltzer?
I do not recall.
And you can't tell us exactly how many of those seltzers you'd had.
Not more than a few.
Not more than a few? What is a few?
2 to 3.
You can't recall how long you were at your brother's, correct?
No, I cannot.
But it was enough time at least to have a few seltzers.
Yes, sir.
Was anybody else drinking with you?
At my brother's house?
Yes.
Yes.
Who?
I do not recall. My older brother's stepbrother's friends. Their get together.
And at this time you were 18, correct?
Yes, sir.
Who supplied you with those seltzers?
I do not recall. It was a get together, so I really just grabbed them.
What an
You don't
a-hole.
recall who supplied you as an underage person with those seltzers.
No, sir.
And you left your brother's house and went to Rich's house at 43 Laurel Glen, correct?
Yes, sir.
You were driven there by Alex Burnson, correct?
Yes, sir.
And along the way, you claim you didn't have anything more to drink, correct?
No, sir.
And when you got there, you say you didn't go inside the house?
No, sir.
And when you got there, who was the first person that you saw?
I saw Ryan Hines
Where did you see him?
in the street/front yard area.
What was he doing?
He was standing there by a car, just talking.
Who was he talking to?
I do not recall exactly. I remember Griffin being out there and Tyler Rich.
And so to your recollection, when you arrived, it was just Ryan Hines, Griffin Marcinzik, and Tyler Rich that were outside?
To my knowledge, yes.
Do you recall anybody else being there who you just didn't recognize?
Yes.
And how many people do you think were there that you saw?
I do not recall exactly, but not many. Maybe.
Not many people?
No.
30 people
Are you saying outside talking to Ryan?
that you saw?
That I saw outside?
Yes.
Not many people, not 30.
Not at that point.
No.
Did you see Ricky Fiola when you got there?
I do not recall.
Did you see Sal Perry when you got there?
I do not recall.
Did you see Michael Sampiri when you got there?
I do not recall.
Did you see Alex Burnson?
Yes.
Because he was with you.
Yes, sir.
Did you see Charlie Connery when you got there?
I do not recall.
Did you see Jacob Villalobos when you got there?
I do not recall.
You did see Tyler Rich.
Yes, sir.
Did you see Michael Lakovich when you got there?
No, sir. I do not recall.
But you do recall seeing all of those folks in the video later on, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said you were there for about 20 minutes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were you outside that whole time?
I was outside and I made my way to the cellar doors in the back and the staircase. Yes.
So for 20 minutes, you were outside and then you made your way to the cellar doors at some point.
Yes, sir.
And while you were there, you weren't having anything to drink at that point?
No, sir.
Did you see other people drinking?
I do not recall.
You say Ryan Hines was by a car?
In the front yard, there was a couple cars parked on the left side of the street if you're facing farmhouse, and then more cars parked on the right side of the street.
So cars parked on both sides of the street?
Yes, there was about not many cars on the left side towards the house. There was, I would say, maybe 3 cars, but there was more cars on the opposite side across the street.
So 3 cars on the left side by the house, even more cars on the right side
Yes, sir.
across the street.
Yes, sir.
How many cars, if you recall, were in the parking, the driveway?
I do not recall exactly.
Do you recall later that there were cars in the driveway? Do
Yes, sir.
you recall a blue truck being in the driveway?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall any other cars being in the driveway?
I do not recall.
Do you recall a basketball hoop being anywhere?
Yes, sir.
Where was that located?
Right to the left side of the mailbox in the street.
And you told us that you went to the cellar doors. Had you been to this house before?
Yes, sir.
So you knew where to go.
Yes, sir.
You were familiar with the layout of the house,
Yes, sir.
the layout of the yard,
Yes, sir.
the layout of the neighborhood itself.
Yes, sir.
That neighborhood, you would agree, is made up of a number of through streets and then a number of streets that come off of that end in cul-de-sacs, right?
Can you rephrase, please? Sorry.
Sure. There is a number of streets that are called through streets they connect one street to another, right?
Yes.
Adams is one of those streets.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
And then there's a number of streets that are cul-de-sacs or they end in little circular dead ends, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what that neighborhood is comprised of, right?
Yes, sir.
You knew that because you'd been there before.
Yes, sir.
And you were familiar enough with this house that you just walked up to the back cellar doors, right?
No, when I got there, there was individuals outside who I am friends with, so I did not walk right back up to the cellar doors. I was standing in the front having a conversation.
Okay, but you didn't feel any need to tell anybody, I'm going to go walk to the cellar doors and go downstairs now, right?
The owner of the house, Tyler Rich, was outside at the initial conversation.
And you didn't feel like you needed to tell him, Tyler, I'm going to go to the inside the house now. Is that okay?
Well, people were starting to walk back to the house, so he was aware.
Jamie, have you ever been at a party at someone else's house with their kids?
With their kids?
Yeah, have you, when you were a kid, 5 years ago when you were in high school, did you ever go to another high school kid's house
Oh,
And
yeah.
at a party?
Yeah.
And you know, Mary, that you went to kindergarten with, middle school, high school, she had this big party in the summer. Every time you wanted to go into the house, did you go up and knock on Mr. Knudson's door and said, "Excuse me, am I allowed to enter the house?"
No.
Or did you just go into the house because she was having a party?
Yeah, you just go in.
It's such a stupid argument. Did you ask
Mhm.
the owner of the house if you can go in? I'm at a fucking party. There's 30 people out front. There's people everywhere. There's probably someone trying to get it on in the parents' bed.
Ew. Yeah. That happened a lot.
Jamie.
Not me.
I was just trying to give a Wisconsin name Jamie would recognize. It's Sunday. Why are you streaming? It's the Lord's Day. Time for Bible on a Budget with Jamie. It'll be right after this show. Will be Bible on a Budget with Jamie. Today we will discuss what type of whale was the whalefish. Jamie, she's a little naughty. She said a sperm whale. I said, Jamie, that doesn't make sense.
Oh my goodness. Doesn't make sense. But come on, let's talk about it.
Yeah, you just walked in and out of the house, and those parents were just, can they turn down that stupid music and stop talking like for the culture?
That I was there and was aware that with people walking back to the house, I would be among those.
And that it would be okay for you to do so
Yes, sir.
because you've been there before.
Yes, sir.
You were familiar with the layout of the house.
Yes, sir.
And they were familiar with you. You didn't expect anybody to try and stop you when you went to those cellar doors.
No, sir.
And you told us that you went down the cellar steps, but you didn't make it to the bottom, right?
Yes, sir.
When you were standing on the cellar steps, could you see into the basement?
I do not recall.
And you don't recall seeing any drinking going on?
No, I do not recall.
You didn't see any evidence of drinking anywhere along the way between the front yard to the cellar steps, wherever you made it ultimately?
No, sir.
And then you told us that you came back because you heard yelling, and that yelling was at their back?
Yes, sir.
To your knowledge, had the Honda Pilot been there before at that point?
It was previously there and drove away.
It was previously there and drove away sometime before you were there for 20 minutes?
No, the Honda Pilot, their first arrival was when I was already at the house.
When you arrived to the house,
Yes, sir.
was the Honda Pilot there?
No, sir.
You're saying that before you arrived, the Honda Pilot had already been there?
No, sir.
Okay. What do you mean that it had been there before you arrived?
I misunderstood your question. The Honda Pilot was not there prior to my being there.
So when you heard that they were back, what did that mean to you if the pilot had not been there before?
I misunderstood your question. So the Honda Pilot had driven away down the street when I was at the cellar doors. So when I heard the words "they're back," I understood that the car came back down the street and was back at the house.
You didn't see the car,
No, I did not.
and you came back into the front yard.
Yes, sir.
Who else was with you?
I do not recall exactly. There was a group of individuals walking back through the front.
Yeah,
Large
he has a
group of
very
individuals, right?
pronounced.
I do not recall exactly, but there was a few people. I was not paying attention to who was with me.
A few, 2 or 3, like with the seltzers, or more?
I do not recall exactly.
30 to 40?
Don't be
Upon
snotty.
watching the video after, could see that there was a large group, but in the instance where when I immediately walked back to the front, I do not recall.
You don't recall the people that were in the house pouring out into the front yard?
I do not recall.
And you said that when the vehicle came back, it parked right in front of the mailbox, right?
Yes, sir.
It wasn't on the other side of the street?
Yes, sir.
Right there by that mailbox.
Yes, sir.
And you said you walked out to see with,
Wait, what? What? Can't just say wait, what, Paul B. Now we sit here and think, was it Jamie and the sperm whale? Was it Jamie and Mr. Knudsen, or was it something in the
What?
file?
Mr. Knudsen.
They went to good schools, so they probably had a pretty decent education. I'm a little surprised this kid he didn't study on. He works at I think like something that deals in metals. But again, why go to college if you can get a good job? It's a waste of money. Not
Can I
everyone
say-
can make their gender studies degree work like Valhalla. Yeah, and yeah. Well, proportionately, they're not that big.
Oh, that's funny.
Griffin Marcinzik, correct?
I do not recall saying I walked out with him.
Was Griffin Marcinzik with you?
I do not recall who exactly was with me when I walked back to the front upon hearing they're back.
Okay. You didn't tell us that you walked out with Ryan Hines?
I do not recall saying that. I do not remember who I walked out from the cellar doors back to the front with.
You don't recall telling us that you walked out with Tyler Rich?
No, sir.
When you were in the front yard, you said at least Griffin Marcinzik, Ryan Hines, and Tyler Rich were out there, right?
Yes, sir.
But in fact, everyone ultimately ended up pouring out into the front yard, did they not?
I am not sure if it was everybody, but a large group eventually, there was a large group eventually on the lawn.
Right, it wasn't just a few people, was it?
No, sir.
It wasn't 2 or 3.
No, sir.
And you told us that the car stopped in the middle of the road right in front of the mailbox and that the Shelton High kids all approached the car, correct?
This is prior to the car driving away, you're asking?
Let's focus on what you've told us.
Mhm.
You said that you came back out,
Mhm.
the car is parked there by the mailbox, right?
Once I came back out of the cellar doors after I heard yelling that they're back, yes.
Okay, that's what we're talking about right now.
Okay.
At that point, everybody poured out of the house, correct?
I do not recall.
Okay. Do you recall telling us that the Shelton High School kids all approached the car and that there was arguing back and forth?
That was prior. Yes, sir.
Prior to what?
Approaching of the car was when I was still outside having a conversation prior to me ever making it to the back of the house.
When you got there initially, you
Yes,
told
sir.
us you did not see the Honda Pilot,
No, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
You were there outside for 20 minutes or so, correct?
Yes, sir.
You went down to the cellar door, correct?
No, sir. The car pulled up upon me being outside before I
you went
walked.
to the cellar door.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Look, the.
Do you agree that that's different than what you told us on direct?
I misunderstood what you said, but yes,
me.
sir.
He took one of the other kids. 3 people got stabulated. Only, 4 people got stabulated. 3 people survived. He was helping one of them get to an ambulance.
When the car pulls up after you come back from the cellar doors, you go back into the front yard. And at that point, the car is by the mailbox.
Can you rephrase again? Sorry.
What part of it do you not understand? So I know what to rephrase.
It's argumentative.
It's not argumentative. He's asking a question. Why don't you just rephrase the question, Attorney Smith?
Let's go from the cellar doors, okay? You're at the cellar doors. You hear something. You go back to the front yard. Do you recall that?
Yes.
When you go back to the front yard, that's when you see the Honda Pilot that you've described being by the mailbox, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, Shelton High School kids all approached the car and there was arguing back and forth, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, you thought that there were 4 to 5 kids in that car, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you thought that the occupants of that car included Mr. De Silva, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Snyder, correct?
I learned his name after, but yes, sir.
Mr. Valley, correct?
Yes, sir.
And another person named Anthony Greco, correct?
Yes, sir.
Anthony Greco wasn't there that night, was he?
No, sir.
But you thought he was in that car.
Yes, sir.
You told that to officers.
Yes, sir.
And once these kids,
That just makes him more believable that he's willing to admit that he made a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know what. He's not doing a very good job of making him seem not credible.
And again, he has a quite a mountain to climb. I can understand that, but he just tries to kick into something that really isn't a big problem.
No.
Go with so you had your focus on your phone, so you weren't really looking at the fight. You were just running around, and you watched the video later, so you didn't actually look at it. I would go more in that direction.
Me too.
kids go over and there's arguing back and forth as you described it. Where were you at that point?
When the car first got there and what I described as the arguing, I was at the driver's side rear door.
Driver's side rear door.
Yes, sir.
How close were you to the car?
I do not recall exactly, not far, an arm's length.
Arm's length away, you could reach out and touch it?
I do not recall exactly, but I was close enough to have a conversation without raising my voice.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 30. That's on the pilot that you saw that night?
Yes, sir.
Do you see a defect in the windshield on the passenger side?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you recall that being there the first time that you saw that vehicle that evening?
I do not recall.
Well, he's not just trying to collect a paycheck. He's actually trying to put on a defense.
And you said that a glass bottle was thrown out of the car towards
But
the house,
sometimes defense lawyers
sir.
have a
correct? And that glass
uphill
came
battle.
from the driver's side, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where you were standing by the driver's side rear door an arm's length away, correct?
Yes, sir.
There was some arguing and then they sped off, you told us.
Yes, sir.
You didn't see anybody touching that vehicle?
I do not recall exactly.
You didn't see anybody rocking that vehicle?
I do not recall.
You didn't see all the Shelton High kids surrounding that vehicle?
I do not recall because I was at the driver's side. I was just talking.
So if the other kids were all surrounding that vehicle, you couldn't see that from where you were standing by the driver's side?
I was not really paying attention to everybody else.
What were you paying attention to?
I was paying attention into the car and trying to listen to the arguing and what was being said.
You were paying attention into the car and you thought you saw Anthony Greco in there.
I did not know who Anthony Greco was. That was I gained that knowledge upon after.
You gained the knowledge that Anthony Greco was in the car afterwards?
So I did not know who Anthony Greco was, but upon having a conversation with my friends after, I thought that it was Anthony Greco that was also there, but I did not have any prior knowledge who he was.
So afterwards, before you talked to the cops, you talked to some folks and you decided that Anthony Greco was in that car and that's what you told the officers.
Could you rephrase one more time? Sorry.
Afterwards, you
Yeah.
talked to some folks. You decided based upon that Anthony Greco was in the car and you told the cops that Anthony Greco was in that car, correct?
I do not recall exactly what I said with it being 3 years ago, but if that was in the statement.
And now you're telling us Anthony Greco wasn't in that car,
No, sir.
but that's what your friends told you.
I do not recall exactly, but it was conversation after.
And that's what you told the cops when you talked to them on the 15th, correct?
I do not recall exactly, but if that's in the statement, yes.
You didn't see anybody touching the vehicle.
I do not recall
You
exactly.
didn't see anybody rocking the vehicle.
I do not recall.
You didn't see anybody surrounding the vehicle.
There was individuals outside, but I do not recall any surrounding.
And you recall the vehicle being right there by that mailbox.
At the initial them pulling up, it was in the middle of the street, which I signified earlier.
And what we're talking about now, when you're standing there and there's arguing going back and forth, that vehicle is by that mailbox.
When there was arguing in the very beginning, it was in the middle of the street. The mailbox was after, when people were yelling, "They're back." So yes.
Okay. After this arguing was going on, they sped off, correct?
Yes, sir.
And they went down the street towards Farmhouse Lane,
Yes, sir.
and you went back towards the cellar doors.
Yes, sir.
You didn't see anybody go down towards Farmhouse Lane from the Shelton High kids, did you?
I do not recall.
You didn't hear anybody go down there towards the Shelton, from the Shelton High kids to go down towards Farmhouse Lane, did you?
I do not recall.
But you do recall that you went back down towards the cellar doors and hung out for a bit, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you go downstairs into the cellar this time?
I did not make it into the basement fully, no.
Where did you do this hanging out for a bit?
I was right at the cellar doors and on the stairs.
Why didn't you go down into the cellar?
I do not recall exactly.
Were there other people there by the cellar?
I know he punched someone at the first fight. That's
Yeah.
that's what I have seen so far. But again,
And then what
I don't
happened
know.
in the Snapchat video? Did he just shove? Did somebody just get
No, we
get
didn't see that in the
shoved?
Snapchat, because in the Snapchat video, he walks through the frame when the other guy gets pushed away.
Oh, okay.
He's not near the fight. He comes from the street into the fight area. And he
Maybe
said,
that's when it happens.
and he says, right after that is when someone screams he has a knife. But he didn't film that. So we haven't seen anything. Yeah, he took a sucker punch and then he headbutted someone with a motorcycle helmet on.
Cellar doors with you?
I do not recall, but
Were you standing there by yourself?
I do not recall.
And at some point, you said that some of the occupants of the Honda Pilot were throwing beer bottles outside, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you never saw anybody from the Shelton High kids throw anything at that Pilot, did you?
No, sir. I do not recall.
Didn't see anybody punch anybody in the Honda Pilot?
I do not recall.
Did you see anything going on in the front passenger or the front driver's side of the Honda Pilot?
I do not recall exactly.
But you do recall that you heard a loud scream from outside, and that's when you went back towards the front, right?
I heard yelling that they're back, and that's when I went back.
And you heard yelling that they're back again. This is the second time that you've heard this.
No, that was only one instance.
So now this is when you're hearing the yelling that they're back.
Yes.
Not the first time that you described to us where you had come in, you were going down to the cellar doors, and then you came back the first time.
I only made it to the cellar doors one time.
Okay. You didn't tell us before that you made it to the cellar doors, you came back. That's when we had this whole discussion about the things going on there by the front.
This is Hank Brennan's style of questioning. He
Yeah.
just makes up what the kid said.
He's
Well, it's not
definitely
that
twisting
hard
his
to
words.
understand what the kid said, but he's just making it up that, well, that's not what you said before. It's actually exactly what he said before.
Yeah. Goodness.
Mailbox, and then after they left, you went back to the cellar door a second time?
I made it back to the cellar doors one time, and that was when the car had driven away. I walked back to the front yard once I heard they're back.
Okay. And when you got there this second time, you said you started a Snapchat video, right?
Yes, sir.
And we watched that Snapchat video, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you described a chaotic scene with a fight in the middle of the grass, right?
Yes, sir.
In fact, there were really two fights going on, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. There was a fight that's over here with Tyler DeSilva. That's one fight, you'd agree?
Yes, sir.
And then there was a second fight that was going on with Mr. Valley, correct?
I do not recall seeing that fight by the time I made it to the front.
Did you see that fight occur in the video that you watched a few times here?
I do not recall.
You don't recall that at all?
No.
And you were standing over by this concrete square, correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you were moving around to some extent, were you not?
Yes, sir.
And you told us that you heard screaming, correct?
I do not recall.
You don't recall whether or not you told us that you'd heard screaming?
The only screaming that I recall hearing is that they're back.
That's all you recall hearing is they're back.
Yes.
You just watched the video, right?
Yes, sir.
And you heard somebody say, yes, sir, right?
Yes, sir.
Was that you?
Yes, sir.
So it wasn't just that people were screaming that you heard. You were screaming, yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
What did that mean, yes, sir?
I do not recall exactly. It was in the heat of the moment.
No, it means that you thought it was cool that your boys were beating up some other boys. We're not idiots. We all been young men at some point. That's why you yelled, yes, sir, because you thought it was kind of cool until someone brought a stabulator. Don't play dumb.
Well, what were you watching when you said, yes, sir?
I was watching an altercation on the grass.
You were watching Alex Burnson, shirtless, throwing blows at Tyler DeSilva while he was on the ground with his shirt pulled up over his head hockey style, right?
Upon watching the video, I saw that. Yes, sir.
So that yes, sir was celebratory. Would you agree?
Style.
I would not say celebratory. No.
You weren't answering a question, were you?
Excuse me. Rephrase, please.
Nobody had said to you, are you having a good time this evening, Mr. Ternowski, did they?
No, sir.
You weren't answering a question, were you?
No, sir.
You were celebrating. You were saying, yes, sir.
This is the problem in today's I stopped doing my street fighting when drugs became a big problem, because people on drugs are really, really, really not fun to fight. But the thing is, at some point, you will meet someone who is better at it than you are. And that's when you figure out if you like it or you don't like it. But hey, it's the gang mentality. You are out hunting in a group of buddies, and you get into a little fisticuffs.
Yep.
Fisticuffs are fisticuffs. But when people bring stabulators or when they are coked out of their mind, it's not fun anymore. I had a buddy of mine who was pretty good at karate, who everyone was always stepping to him because he was just the gentlest, nicest fella. So they always wanted to fight him. So, I heard you're good at karate. And he was like,
Kumite? The kumite.
no,
That's what
karate.
I know, but it makes me think of kumite.
Kumite is an illegal fight in Hong Kong that Frank Dukes won. But I've seen him fight a guy on amphetamine who he had, because he just kept attacking him, and he had to beat him so bad that his brain shut off. We couldn't restrain him. We couldn't do anything. He just kept going until his brain shut off.
Yeah.
That's territory where someone get killed or get permanently damaged.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking dangerous.
So
And with the amount of drugs kids are on these days, I'm glad my fighting days are over.
and with alcohol involved, it just escalates things to a whole new level.
Drugs are way worse than alcohol. Alcohol, I can tell you, when my nose broke, I got stone cold sober that instant. But drugs are drugs, and drugs are really fucked up in a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're fucked up on drugs, you have to shut their brain off or shut their body down. And that's a lot of damage you have to do to the brain. They were drinking. No drugs has been involved, but still, it's young kids thinking they are big old men, and then they got into a fight because someone wants to front on them. And then when they lose the fight, they bring a stabulator. Oh man, little boys again. I'm already dealing. No.
Brandon, Come on. Too
It's
early.
Sunday. Go to church. No,
Yeah.
because if he goes to church, he'll just fantasize about the priest.
Oh God, don't you start with
I didn't start. Brandon started. Don't you blame me.
Ugh.
Sure.
I do not recall celebrating, but yes, those were my words.
Okay. Did you also hear somebody say, "Get some, nigger"?
Upon watching the video, yes, sir.
What?
Was
Whoa.
that you as well?
No, sir.
Did you just throw that out
Are you
there?
sure?
Yes, sir.
How are you sure?
That is not my voice. That was another individual.
Whose voice was it?
I do not recall exactly.
Was that also just the heat of the moment?
It was not me, so I'm not too sure.
That
Didn't bother you, though, did
that's not on my Sunday morning word list. Probably
Didn't
should have beeped
expect
that one out.
Because I didn't hear that on the video.
No,
at
it did
all.
not.
And you told us
Yep.
that you heard screaming, "Out of here, just leave." But you didn't tell us about the yes, sir, and you didn't tell us about the racial epithet until right now, right?
No, sir.
And in fact, you didn't tell officers about this video until the third time that you've spoken to them, correct?
I do not recall exactly which time.
And you identified for us in State's Exhibit 61, Ricky Fiola, right?
Yes, sir.
He had a phone in his hand as well, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
And he had the flashlight on at least, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he was also live streaming this, wasn't he?
I do not recall if he was live streaming. I just recall seeing a light.
You weren't filming that night because you thought this was something that the cops should see, were you?
No, sir.
You were filming because this is something you were enjoying, wasn't it?
No, sir.
Did you say yes, sir?
I said
No.
no, sir.
He said no, sir.
What were you
Even
going
I
to do with
could
that
hear
video after you took it?
I do not recall exactly.
But you weren't going to give it to the cops, were you?
Yes, sir. I would have.
You didn't until they asked about it, right?
Yes, sir.
You described a couple other people in that video for us. You said the green shirt was Ryan Hines, correct?
Yes, sir.
White and black in front, that was Sal Perry, correct?
Yes, sir.
One person with his shirt off over top of Mr. De Silva, that was Alex Burnson that you had brought with you.
Yes, sir.
Black shirt and red hat, Michael Sampieri.
Yes, sir.
And De Silva, you described as wearing the light blue jersey. I believe it was an Ole Miss jersey.
I do not recall saying Ole Miss, but I said a light blue jersey.
And then you described Tyler Rich as being on.
What's Ole Miss? Is it a brand?
Sorry, you cut out right when you said what you said. What did you say?
I said, what's Old Miss? Is it a brand?
No, it's a college.
Oh. I thought Old Miss sound like something for maybe a hygiene product for elderly women.
Yeah, it's a college. University. Old Miss.
College or university? School, college.
Yeah.
So it's Mississippi.
Yeah.
I still think that it would be a good name. Called it Old Mist, and it can be a refreshing spritz for older ladies.
On the ground in
Is
front
that
of
what you
Mr. De Silva
thought?
in that?
Yes, sir.
That's what you could make out from that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We also saw Mr. Villalobos in there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lakovich was in there with no shirt on.
Yes, sir.
How did you know Mr. Lakovich?
We were friends.
How old was Mr. Lakovich?
Anyway, that's how it goes. We just try to pretend Jamie didn't listen because didn't hear me. We all know she didn't listen.
No, you did like, and then it got quiet, and I was like, oh, he paused, but I didn't hear him say anything. So
Sure, Jamie.
that's the one.
I do not recall exactly.
You didn't start.
Old Bay.
Old Bay is a seasoning.
It's a
for
seasoning
seafood.
if you're making lamb chops.
Filming
lamb chops. I thought
until the
that was
fight
good.
had already begun. Is that
No,
fair to say?
Jamie.
Yes, sir.
I'm making
Did you see
everything
the
up.
fight begin?
No, sir.
You didn't.
No, sir.
Where were you when the fight began?
I was at the cellar doors.
So you didn't see somebody throw the first punch.
No, sir.
When you spoke with officers, you described Lito as wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt, correct?
I do not recall exactly.
He was not wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt that night, was he?
I do not recall.
You told the officers that you observed it from a distance, right?
I do not recall.
In fact, you didn't just observe it from a distance. You were filming the thing, right?
Yes, sir.
You were cheering it on, right?
I do not recall cheering it on, but I was yelling at one point in the video. Yes.
You wouldn't describe saying, yes, sir, as cheering it on?
No, sir.
That wasn't encouraging things?
I do not recall exactly.
And where was Ryan Hines while this was going on?
I do not recall exactly where he was.
But you told the officers that you saw the defendant strike Ryan Hines in the ribs, right?
I do not recall.
Well, if you get to a certain age, you need a little rubbing seasoning to
But you
get
couldn't
some
have seen the defendant strike Ryan Hines in the ribs, right?
feeling in it.
I do not recall exactly where they were.
Well, we saw what you saw, did we not?
Yes, sir.
Did you see the defendant strike Ryan Hines in the ribs?
No, sir.
No, you didn't, but you told the cops that, right?
I do not recall exactly saying that.
And how did you know Mr. McGrath?
We have mutual friends.
Had you ever been to parties with him before?
Look at you,
We have been in the
Roland.
same places a few times. Yes.
Did you see him drinking this evening?
No, I did not.
You told officers when you spoke with them before you gave them the video that to the best of your knowledge, this entire incident was completely random, right?
Yes, sir.
But it wasn't completely random, was it?
I do not recall.
You don't recall what?
What are you referring to when you say it was not completely random?
Well, what were you referring to when you said the entire incident was completely random?
I was made aware of an incident that happened prior, but other than that, of the individuals making their way to our Shelton house party, that was random to my knowledge.
Making their way to which party?
To Tyler Rich's house.
That was completely random.
To my
Why?
prior knowledge, it was random of them showing up there. Yes.
Your friend said pull up.
Now, racism is becoming a problem in this country, so I did a little research and I found out one of my own family members owned slave. Couldn't believe it. My own brother.
Oh, my goodness.
Was it the Irish slaves?
Mhm.
They get forgotten a lot. I think Brandon's brother is the kind of person who would own an Irishman and feed him taters.
To your knowledge, the defendant, Jack Snyder, and Tyler De Silva showed up at 43 Laurel Glen Drive completely randomly.
To my knowledge,
What's
up to that
mustard on
point,
lamb?
it was completely
Right.
random
Yeah.
for them to have shown up there.
They don't need mustard on lamb.
You told these officers that you saw the defendant lying on the ground after getting punched and there was a stampede. Did you not?
I do not recall.
You don't recall telling that to Officer Iannotti when you spoke to him on May 20th.
I do not recall.
Did you see the defendant lying on the ground after getting punched and then there was a stampede and Mr. Hines was pushed and landed on Mr. Valley?
I do not recall exactly seeing that.
Well, you did describe to us that it was a chaotic scene, right?
Yes, sir.
What was chaotic
I
about
didn't
it?
see that either. that
It
on the
was
video?
very chaotic with the fight. There was a lot of yelling. Yeah, there was people outside. It was just a chaotic scene to follow.
There was only 2 of these kids from St. Joe's there, correct?
Yes, sir.
On the grass, correct?
On the grass, yes, sir.
There were at least 20 Shelton High kids there in the lawn, correct?
I do not recall exactly how many, but there was a large group of Shelton kids outside, yes.
Do you dispute that there was at least 20?
I do not recall exactly how many, but there was a larger group.
You wouldn't dispute that there was 30, would you?
I do not recall exactly how many were out there.
You wouldn't dispute that there was 40, would you?
I do not recall exactly how many people were out there.
Would you agree that the 2 St. Joe's kids were vastly outnumbered?
Of people fighting, there was not many people in the actual fight. There was a lot of bystanders around.
How many people would you say were fighting in that video that you recorded?
To the best of my knowledge, exactly, I'd say a few, not too many.
A few,
Yes, sir.
like those seltzers, 2 or 3?
Upon
Don't be a cunt. You got him to admit that he might have said something at some point and don't say it again. Don't be cunty like those Celsius 2, 3.
Yeah.
watching the video, I could see there was about
He's very Hank Brennan.
Yeah, don't. I hate that.
there was a fight in the grass and there was a punch thrown from behind from Alex Bernstein. That was it.
Like, it's very off when you do it to a witness that is not giving you snark.
You didn't see anyone actually get stabbed, correct?
No, sir.
And the reason that you didn't initially share that video that you made on the night of is because you were afraid you might get in trouble, right?
I do not recall why I did not give it over.
You knew that that video showed your friends engaged in some assaultive behavior, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't want your friends to get in trouble, did you?
I obviously did not want them to get in trouble, but I do not recall if that was a reason I did not give it over.
Well, you say you obviously did not want them to get in trouble. What's so obvious about that?
Well, nobody ever wants their friends to get in trouble, but that would not be the reason that I would not hand the video over.
But you didn't hand the video over immediately, did you?
No, sir.
You had it on the night of the 14th, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had it on the 15th, correct?
Yes, sir.
You talked with Officer Bitsko and Officer Staples, correct?
I do not recall Officer Bitsko, who that is, but Officer Staples, yes, I know.
At the Shelton PD, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you went back again on the 20th, and that's when you talked with Officer Iannotti, correct?
I do not recall that officer's name, but I did end up going back. Yes, sir.
And that's when you gave him the video, right?
I do not recall exactly which time I gave them the video.
Did you share that video with anybody else?
No, sir, I did not.
Didn't post it on some social media?
So that night, the video was on a private story and then deleted as soon as everything calmed down.
Let's talk about that. The video was on a private story.
Yes, sir.
It just got there on its own.
No, I posted it on a private story, and that's when I put my phone back into my pocket.
You posted that video that night on your private story.
Yes, sir.
How many people had access to it?
I do not recall.
All your friends?
I do not recall exactly how many people have access to it.
Do you let all of your friends have access to your private stories?
I do not recall exactly how many. Some of my friends are in it, some are not.
When you posted it to your private stories,
Yes, sir.
you didn't give it to the police, did you?
No, sir. It was posted.
You
the
know
night
this.
of
You
and
asked
deleted
it
almost
4
immediately.
times already.
Because you were afraid you might get in trouble, right?
I deleted the video upon realizing exactly, what had happened that night. But no, not about getting in trouble. Once I realized what had happened, what had occurred, and we came to the realization that obviously there was injured and Jimmy was severely wounded, the video was taken down. Right after.
Well, you knew that Jimmy was severely wounded that night, did you not?
Yes, sir.
But you posted it that night, right?
I posted it. There's a button on Snapchat where if you just click it once, it automatically posts. There's no second verification needed or anything. So upon clicking that button, it was posted to my story instantly. And then I put my phone back in my pocket.
You posted that video that night, right?
Yes, sir.
It wasn't just posted on its own.
No, sir.
You did that
Yes, sir.
rather than give that to the police.
I did not have a meeting with the police. I forgot about the video immediately when it was on my story that night upon first responders getting there and everything. And then I remembered about the video. I do not recall exactly when. It was in the next few hours to a friend of mine saying that the video was on my story.
You posted that video that night shortly after we heard you say, yes, sir, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was before you realized how seriously Mr. McGrath was injured. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
You posted that video because that was a trophy. You wanted people to see what had happened
Yeah,
because you didn't know yet
that's right.
how serious it was. That's the truth, isn't it?
No, sir. I posted the video.
course
I
you
do not recall exactly why I posted the video, but I just posted it. I wasn't really thinking.
Did you post any other videos that night?
I do not recall. I do not believe so.
Jamie, this one is for you.
Yeah. Read it.
Hey, Jamie. So this morning I wasn't sure what to wear to pre-eculators.
We know what it's supposed to say.
So I just came in my pants. At least you're wearing pants. That's
Yeah.
the positive takeaway from this one. That Brandon, was at a meeting in pants for once in his life. He had pants on.
Luffy,
Pre-ac-
go back to bed.
Pre-ejaculators.
Pre-ejaculators meeting. That's what he meant.
That's not what it said, Jamie. Don't make it dirty.
I knew what he meant.
Brendan, did
So,
you mean pre-ejaculators? I don't think that.
yeah,
But you didn't
he's so innocent.
not give it to the police because you were afraid that you might get in trouble.
I do not recall exactly why I did not give it to them.
And you don't recall if you didn't give it to the police because you didn't want any of your friends to get in trouble.
No, I do not recall exactly why I did not.
You don't recall anybody laying hands on that car that you saw there, correct?
I do not recall watching anything at the car.
You don't recall whether or not that vehicle had that defect in the windshield when you saw it, correct?
I do not recall seeing that.
And you don't recall why you said, yes, sir. Is that what you told us?
I'm going to object based on ask and answer at this point.
Sustained.
Doctor, I have a steering wheel in my pants. It's driving me nuts.
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right.
All right, Tanner. On direct examination, when we spoke before, and counsel just asked you about the phrase that you said, "they're back." Let's reset, okay? When the Honda Pilot first gets there, where are you? First gets there that night.
When the Honda Pilot first arrived, it was in the middle of the street, and I was also in the middle of the road to the side of the mailbox.
So you're saying this is states 52. If it's in the middle of the street somewhere here, maybe where the yellow X is.
Yes, let's say relatively right about here.
Okay.
I was on the driver's side.
So when you say that it was in front of the mailbox, you're not saying it's parked in front of the mailbox, right?
No.
So when you're saying it's in front of the mailbox, it's somewhere in front of the mailbox, but in the middle of the street.
Yes, in the middle of the street.
So when you said on direct examination, and then again explored on cross-examination, whether the phrase that you used there back, did you misspeak at that moment? Is that the
So-
first time they came to the house?
No, so the first time they came to the house was when the car was in the middle of the street.
Okay.
I misunderstood what the defendant's lawyer said when I said their back was after the car first drove away, and I made it to the back of the cellar doors upon me here.
So just so we're clear, car's in the middle of the street, you go up, you're on the driver's side, you see what you see, and then the car drives.
Danny G, we can't believe you spent 19 months here either. Jamie didn't even spend 19 months here. She just turns on,
Whatever.
she joins the channel, shuts off, and then goes out in the garden trying to raise her attack crickets.
Oh, if I had a gaggle of attack crickets, that would be hilarious.
drives off, right?
Yes, sir.
And after the car drives off, you make your way back to the cellar doors, right?
Upon the car driving off, yes, I made my way to the back basement cellar doors.
And when you made your way back to the cellar doors, how long did you hang out there?
I do not recall exactly. It was not too long.
And at some point in time, you heard they're back.
Yes, sir.
And at that point in time, what did you observe about the car? Where was the car located?
Once I heard the yelling, they're back, I proceeded to go to the front, and the car was relatively close to the mailbox, more towards the yard this time.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 62. Can you see this right here?
Yes, sir.
What does this appear to be down here on the bottom part of 62?
It appears to be a parked car.
Okay. And this up here with the lights on, what does this appear to be?
A house across the street.
This right here, this structure right here.
That appears to be the dark Honda Pilot.
Okay. So
What?
if this car, do you recall where this car down here to the bottom of 62, do you recall that was parked facing Adams Drive near the mailbox, or was it facing the other way?
What are these
I do
pictures?
not recall
They're
exactly.
horrible.
But at some point in time.
I
when the
couldn't
Honda
see
Pilot comes back,
anything that
come
looked like
back
anything.
Towards Adams or going the other way?
It came back,
No.
and the car was going towards Adam, facing
And
Adams.
so this is the car, right? You're telling us this is the Honda Pilot right here, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the
Leave
defendant in front of the Honda
The
Pilot.
Beagle
Yes, sir.
alone.
Safe to say that he's between a parked car on the side of the road and this car being in the middle of the road?
Yes, sir.
So is it,
I actually think that most of the witnesses have been okay. But he has this way of asking them, and then he asked them the same question, claiming they said something different. So I think he confuses the defense with the defense confuses these kids. I think that's more of the problem. But again, Just admit to the underage drinking, and it's not okay, and blah, blah, blah. Everyone know you were drinking.
At that moment,
Yeah.
when you heard, well, shortly before that moment, when you heard they're back. Is that when you heard they're back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we're referring to they're back, you're referring to this moment in time just
Exactly,
before the
old
fight
Mike.
starts.
They're back.
When I heard
Yeah,
they're back, I was
right.
already at the cellar doors, and
they're
that was
back.
right prior to me walking out and observing a fight on the front lawn.
Welcome back, Melissa.
Counsel asked you why you videoed that fight that night. I mean, do you do a lot of videoing on Snapchat?
Yes, sir.
Why do you do that?
I'm not too sure why.
I mean, do you randomly video things?
Yes, sir. Me and my friends always take videos like when we're doing anything really.
Is that the whole purpose of Snapchat? What's the purpose of Snapchat? Why do you have it?
Snapchat is to send pictures and or videos to friends, or you could create a story, which I explained before.
And is it common for you and your friends to just whip your phone out and start videoing things or taking pictures?
Yes, sir.
And is it common for you and your friends on Snapchat? Well, withdraw. Do you use any other social media apps?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is it common for you and your friends to use social media apps such as Snapchat to video things and post them to your Snapchat account?
Yes, sir.
Have you done that before?
Yes, sir.
And when you've done that before, did you do it just kind of not thinking about it? You video something and you just post it for the sake of posting it?
Yes, sir.
And why do you do that?
Really just catch memories, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really about it.
So when you video this fight on May 14th of 2022, was it kind of one of those impulsive things that you did?
Yes.
And when you posted it, is that one of those impulsive things when you posted? I guess you said you hit a button or something and it posted right away?
Yeah, I do not recall exactly, but there is a button on the main screen where if you hit it, it immediately will post.
Is that something that you've done in the past?
Yes, sir.
Is that something that you've done in the past when you kind of can do it without looking at the screen? Or do you have to kind of watch what you're doing and then hit something real quick?
You have to kind of look at it, but if you click add to story, it will add to your story.
No,
So when you
gotta
posted
be
this
careful,
video,
'cause you can post
uh,
quick.
I don't. I hate Snapchat because you have to take a picture, and it really annoys me. So I always just take a picture of my hand up close, so no one can see anything. It's, but it annoys me. I don't know why everyone wants to use Snapchat. Yeah, if I got some tiplets pictures, I could use it for something, but I don't. I just get random. Hey, I'm in the garden. Here's a flower. Well, F that flower. Titlets.
I used it when it first came out, and then I got over it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I never posted a story to it. Never.
But that I did notice that, like, yeah, you can easily, like, if you take one and you hit the button quick or wrong button, it posts right away, and you're like, oh, geez,
Oh.
I've done that before. And you have to go delete
That
it.
we watched today, is that something that as soon as the video ended, you kind of posted it and then kind of realized what had happened?
Yes, sir.
No, I think you can. I think with Snapchat you can see parts of it, or you can see that something happened,
Okay.
but it's
Any
scrambled.
additional costs?
I just have some brief questions.
All right.
We saw that in the Dr. Turk case, I believe, or was that?
Just wanna make sure
That's
we've got this
WhatsApp.
correct.
Sorry.
First time the car arrives,
No, it was,
you're standing by the rear.
yeah, it
passenger
was,
side,
wasn't
correct?
it?
Yeah.
The first time that the car arrived in the middle of the street, I was at the rear driver's side.
Rear driver's side.
Yep.
Thank you for correcting.
No, it was in that
You're standing
kid
at the rear
that,
driver's side. You didn't see
off his
anybody
mom.
else surrounding the car.
I do not recall exactly.
You
who
don't
was out
recall
there.
anybody touching the car,
Yeah,
even though
that's
you were an
yeah.
arm's
The
length
kid.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not recall
You
exactly.
don't recall anybody
It
rocking
was
the
all
car.
scrambled,
Yeah.
and they was.
You don't recall anybody damaging that car in any way.
I do not recall.
He asked
And that
answered the
basically
question
it
5
says-
times.
You go back to the
Yeah.
cellar doors for some time. I believe you described that as being maybe 20, 25 minutes, right?
I do not recall exactly how long. It was a little bit of time.
When the car drove off, it headed down towards Farmhouse Lane, right?
Yes, sir.
You stayed outside by the back cellar doors.
It's Sunday.
Yes, sir. I was right
Brandon.
on the stairs.
You didn't see any Shelton High kids go down towards Farmhouse Lane.
I do not recall seeing anybody.
You don't recall hearing anybody go down towards Farmhouse Lane from Shelton High.
No, sir. Not
You don't recall seeing Tyler Rich go down there.
No, sir.
You don't recall seeing Ricky Field go down there.
No, sir.
Nobody, right?
Oh, that's right.
Second time you hear they're back, right?
Yes, sir.
This time the car is relatively close to the mailbox with another car in front of it, correct?
As seen in the picture, the car is in the middle of the street with a parked car parallel to it. Yes.
You were asked a whole bunch of questions on redirect about randomly videoing things. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
This wasn't randomly videoing something, was it?
I do not recall exactly. Upon seeing lights, once I made my way to the front yard, there was lights and what appeared to be, I thought, other people were recording. Therefore, I started a recording. Yes.
It wasn't random, right?
It I saw other lights, so I started recording upon coming into the front yard.
You saw lights and that made you decide you needed to record something?
I thought that other people were recording.
You told us that you record things to catch memories, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what you just told the state's attorney, to catch memories, right?
Yes, sir.
This was a memory that you wanted to catch, wasn't it?
No, sir.
This wasn't a memory that you wanted to catch?
Upon walking out into the grass and seeing other lights, I thought other people were recording. And in this day and age, kind of just the first instinct. Like,
Just,
You recorded this
Come
because
on.
you wanted to catch
There you
this
go.
memory. It's only after the fact when you figured out what had occurred that you decided, maybe this isn't a memory I want to keep anymore. That's the truth, isn't it?
I do not recall exactly why I started this recording. It was a spur of the moment, and I just started recording.
you wanted
It wasn't to
clues.
catch the memory of Shelton High kids getting the better of the two St. Joe's kids.
No, sir.
Did you say yes, sir?
I said no, sir.
Nothing.
Anything further?
Nothing from
Alright.
there.
You're all set. Okay, and so the witness stand, please watch your step as you exit, okay? To adopt, I also, you will not need to be, and I cannot stress how important Friday of this week, we will resume evidence on Monday. Again, I cannot stress how important it is people and media about this. Again, I also want to stress, do not visit any of the locations to the trial. Obviously, I appreciate the
There you go.
That's that, Jamie. We are up to speed. Everything is hunky dory. It's I don't know why it's hunky dory because Dory wasn't that hunky. Dory was more of a confused fish. So could you imagine getting access to Jamie's Snapchat?
No, it was mainly dog picture. I'd take pictures of my dogs and send them to people.
Yeah, I
I'd
believe
put filters
that.
on them, like put filters on the dogs and send them to
Oh.
my friends.
Lefty, you would be burning your phone within 2 seconds after seeing Jamie's dogs with a little top hat and
Yeah, I did. There was the one where it would put a wig on her, and I laughed for hours. I did like 17 million Snapchats of that. Oh, you would have hated me. You would have deleted your Snapchat instantly.
yeah. The defense attorney's job is to trip up people and install reasonable doubt in a case like this. I guess it's all you can do. Argue that everyone's inconsistent. Yeah. Try to get to the point that no one really saw it was him who had the stabulator and him who did the stabulating. And again, we might not like the defendant in this case or in other cases, but they have exactly the same rights like every other defendant when we like the defendant. I just don't like the way he's doing it, especially that. Did you say yes? No, I said no. It's not like he spoke slower or lower. I get my peaches from the Midwest. Yeah. South Carolina is a peach state, right? Or is it
Georgia.
Georgia is the peach state. It's right next to each other.
Mhm.
He turned down 2 40-year plea deals. So if he can get less than that, yeah, that's a win. If he gets more than that, he's never coming out of prison.
Yeah.
Is Jamie 17? No, she just turned 25 on Juneteenth.
I act like I am. I could be.
Bad anime. Bad anime.
What?
I'm not explaining that to you.
Well, I unfortunately can't see the chats for anime, so.
I just put it on the screen.
Stop it.
Georgia is also where a lot of cartoons are made. Interesting. Didn't know that. But I should know that Georgia is the peach state because it's on my map. Just as
Your good old map.
yeah, I learned a lot about it. It's wrong.
He's-
It doesn't place Oklahoma and Oregon next to each other, but Can't win all of them. But that's it. We are now up to date. Jamie and I will pick this up tomorrow at 10 p.m. I'm going to chuck you over to Mo, who is covering the Barry Morphew grand jury indictment. Remember tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern, I believe it is, Aiden will have jury number 11 and a surprise guest, not Karen Reed, on for his Sunday night show. So put that in your calendar. That juror 11 has been really mistreated online, and she seems like a fun person. I wish I had clout enough to have her on, not to talk so much about, did you think Hank Brennan looked like a weasel? But just about, hey, how was it to be a juror?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are ripping her apart, and it's disgusting.
Yeah. And they, that John DePetro guy and
Grant.
Krusty Panties. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I might do a Krusty Panty videos later today and yell at her because she's going fucking crazy.
Yeah, John's comments on the stream were like appalling.
I don't watch Real Housewives. Jamie watches the Real Housewives.
No, I really don't. I love After Lockup and 90 Day Fiance was my reality jams.
And on the final note, because it's Sunday and I didn't buy him I didn't buy beer so we could have our Friday beer. Well, her DMs are closed, so I can't ask her out. But I'm sorry. The story of Johnny Appleseed is loosely based upon my life, except for the parts about planting apple trees and not graping men. Yes, this is why I am born broken. Need me anyway. Love y'all. See you all.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Thank you.
While I'm waiting for this,
Profiles from the databases matched at the limited loci
whether it's
available
true or
for
not, believe that Mr.
comparison.